That's all it is.
It's tippy time.
And that is all it's going to be.
Toodles!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I am, of course, your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday. About halfway through the week, things are starting to wind down a little bit as we get towards the weekend, but there's no rest for the wicked. Got so much content coming up in the next few days. We'll get to all that stuff at the end of the show, though, when we do the standard shills. First, we're going to discuss NXT from last night, and the show began with the first of two Fatal 4-Way Last Chance Iron Survivor qualifying matches, where the four people that have lost in the previous weeks got another shot to try to get qualified for the match. And so this one was Roxanne Perez, Thea Hale, Fallon Henley, and Kiana James. Now, this match was just absolute fire. Some of the best women's wrestling I've seen in a little bit. There were actually 3 different matches that were going on during the course of this match. You had your standard Fatal 4-Way as it was booked. And then you had Thea Hale versus Fallon Henley and Roxanne versus Kiana. And we just knew with everything that's been going on recently with Roxy and Kiana that this match was going to boil over. And I called it. I was telling my friends, I was like, don't be surprised if they end up taking each other out so they could set up a one-on-one match for Deadline. And that's exactly what happened. The two women just went at each other, gangbusters, and we ended up, we'll get to that a little later, but we ended up getting a match scheduled for Deadline, just as I called it. That left Thea Hale and Fallon Henley to pretty much carry the match. And I was really torn here because I like both of them. I've been a fan of Thea since day one. Fallon has definitely grown on me here lately. But I was kind of good either way. Fallon got the victory, moves on to the Iron Survivor. Do I think she's going to win? Jury's still out on that one. I'm still kicking the options around in my head. But a fantastic showing by her nonetheless. And I do still see great things in Thea Hale's future once the whole Chase U thing kind of gets taken care of. And we'll get to that a little bit later on. We then had a backstage interview with Lola Vice, Elektra Lopez, Lyra Valkyria, and Tatum Paxley. And I'm not going to lie, I missed a lot of what was said here, but it did set up a match that would occur later on in the evening between Lola and Tatum. So we'll get to that in a little bit. We then had Wes Lee come out to the ring, and he's hobbling on a cane. And this was a very heartfelt, passionate promo. You could see him breaking down in tears throughout. It was really kind of sad at the end of the day because he is unable to participate at Deadline. He has to have back surgery. He doesn't know when he will be back. We heard later on they're saying 8 months to a year that Wes Lee will be out of action. And this is just gut-wrenching because I think we all kind of figured Wes would take the strap off of Dom at the show and get his big moment heading into the new year and stand and deliver. But that's all been thrown out now due to this injury. Dominic Mysterio comes out and basically, gets some good heel heat. He insults Wes a little bit and basically says that, since you won't be there, I've got the night off now to spend with mommy. And at this point, Dom's father, Rey Mysterio, comes onto the big screen. And he cuts a promo saying that, you don't have the night off. You're going to be taking on this man, my brother, the future of Lucha Libre, the man whose corner I will be in come deadline, Dragon Lee. So for the North American title now at deadline, it's going to be Dragon Lee challenging for Dominic Mysterio. And while I do like Dragon Lee, and we'll get more into this on Simply Predicting, which I'll plug at the end of the show, while I like Dragon Lee, I don't think we need to put the North American title on him. I think that we need to keep it off of him. I think the goal was to get the North American title back to being an NXT exclusive thing and get it off of Dom. But Dragon Lee has been on the SmackDown brand. We don't need the NXT North American title on a main roster person. What's up, Arlene? Good to see you in the chat room. She asks, do you think Santos Escobar will make an appearance? That's a pretty fair shout. That would be a good way to cost Dragon Lee the belt. Keep it on Dom. Keep the storyline moving with Santos and Rey. And especially since there have been heavy rumors that Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, I think that's his name. But, Los Lotharios, we'll just call him that but there's been heavy rumors that they're going to be joining Santos for his new Legado del Fantasma. So if Santos makes an appearance, costs Dragon Lee the belt to help induct Dragon Lee into the new Latino world order, then we can get Garza and Carrillo to come out and kind of help balance everything. So that's a pretty fair shout, Arlene. I like that. But it's just gut-wrenching to see that Wes Lee, who was on this huge push, is going to be out for another 8 to 12 months after just coming back from an injury. Like literally his fatal 4-way last week, I think, was his first match back. Gut-wrenching. We then go back to the trainer's room, and Roxanne Perez is already in there. Kiana's being brought in. And Kiana's basically saying, the next time I see Roxanne, it's on site. And Roxanne's like, oh, really? And the two start brawling throughout the trainer's room. And Ava Raine is in there, and she kind of breaks it up and says, look, you guys want each other so bad, I'm going to go make it official. So this is the second time Ava Raine has kind of gotten involved in NXT female wrestler business. I'm wondering if they're going to try to position her to be some kind of figurehead of the women's division for NXT, because she's only had a couple of matches. She did okay in them, wasn't anything to write home about. But as a way to keep her on TV and not be forgotten, I think this is good to do with her. She'll stay on TV. She'll stay fresh in people's minds. It's The Rock's daughter. You don't want to just not have her be around. And you can have her kind of be this buffer for the women's division, this liaison to Shawn Michaels. We then get this Tatum Paxley versus Lola Vice match. and it was a decent little match, you know. It Tatum put up a decent fight, but Lola, with her breakout tournament contract, like, you knew she wasn't going to job here. It was a little bit predictable, but it was still a fun match from top to bottom. We then had the Alpha Academy, consisting of Chad Gable, Otis, and Maxine Dupree, with Tozawa in their corner, versus the Metaphor, Noam Dar, Oro Mensa, Lash Legend, with Jakara Jackson in their corner. And this was a 6-person mixed tag match. And this was a decent match between the 6 people. You know, if this had been the first time I had seen Metaphor, I probably wouldn't hate on Metaphor the way I do, because they actually had a really good showing here. There were a couple of small botches, mainly between Otis and Oro Mensa. Lash Legend and Maxine looked a little sloppy. I'm not sure if it's Maxine's inexperience, if it was Lash's inexperience, if it was Lash not wanting to put Maxine over. But the moment where Lash Legend scoop slammed Otis onto that mat, which is what I used for the thumbnail for this episode, holy crap. I'm not going to lie. I have not been a Lash Legend fan. One of the main reasons why I hate on Metaphor, you know, is her and Noam Dar. Because when I first started watching NXT, Lash Legend was going against Nikita a lot, and I love me some Nikita Lyons. We'll get to her momentarily. But this feat of strength from Lash Legend, like Arlene says, was just really impressive. I can't even hate on that. That was some good shit, pal. We then go backstage and we get Hank and Tank with the Gallus boys. And at first, the Gallus boys walk into the pub and they see Hank and Tank there, and they're like, you know, what are you doing? And they're like, hey, not here to start nothing. Here's a couple of beers. You know, they line up 3 beers for them, one for each of the Gallus boys. And they start talking. And Hank and Tank are out to try to make a name for themselves. Not necessarily by taking out Gallus, but just Hank and Tank have been just kind of lingering for a little bit. And they want to get a little bit more exposure, a little bit more TV time, and even in something in defeat, going up against the Gallus boys can get them some recognition. So they issue them a challenge. And the Gallus boys go ahead and they accept it. So next week, we will get Gallus versus Hank and Tank. We then go back to Ava Rain, who's coming out of HBK's office, and she announces that it has been made official. At Deadline, Kiana James versus Roxanne Perez inside of a steel cage. Yes. Again, totally called this. Knew there was going to be some stipulation. Knew they were going to go one-on-one. Saw this coming, and sometimes when things are predictable, you're just like, But sometimes, man, when you call things like a mile away, you get that sense of pride about you. And that's definitely how I felt with this when it came to my NXT. I'm looking forward to the steel cage match. Honestly, this might be match of the night. I'm not trying to take nothing away from anybody else that's on the card, but with the rivalry that Roxy and Kiana have, this could be a sleeper hit right here. We then had the Women's Iron Survivor Summit. And what this is the 5 women that are going to compete in the Iron Survivor match, which consists of Blair Davenport, Tiffany Stratton, Fallon Henley, Kaylani Jordan, and Lash Legend. Forgive me. Blair, Lash, Tiffy, Fallon, Kaylani. So all 5 women are basically sitting up there in the ring, Byron Saxton moderating, and it's just basically each one getting an opportunity to talk shit on the other ones. And Tiffany starts running her mouth to start. Everyone just kind of gets the eye roll. And it ends up with Fallon Henley basically saying that people are overlooking her. They're not taking her seriously. And she gives us a yeehaw bitch and just clocks Tiffany. And a brawl begins between all 5 women. They clear them out. We come back from commercial and we get Axiom versus Nathan Frazier, which is a rivalry being renewed here. And the bell rings, the match gets started, a couple moves get done, and all the women from the Iron Summit come back out to the ring, start brawling inside of the ring. Everybody except Blair Davenport is going at it. So the match, Axiom and Nathan Frazier, gets completely thrown out at this point. But Kaylani and Fallon and Lash and Tiffy are all brawling inside the ring. Blair Davenport standing on the entranceway when all of a sudden Nikita Lyons' music hits and Nikita Lyons has returned to NXT. She comes out there. Blair turns around. Nikita hits one of her spin kicks. It looks like she damn near takes Blair's head off. And of course, Blair Davenport was revealed earlier this year as the mystery attacker that was going around taking out all of the women of NXT. Nikita was one of the first women the attacker took out. Hence the reason why she's coming back and she's immediately going after Blair Davenport. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get Nikita versus Blair on Saturday because of Iron Survivor. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nikita plays a factor in the match to potentially set up something on a future NXT broadcast. Last year, NXT had a New Year's Bash special. Could definitely build towards that, in my opinion. Arlene says, you might as well be writing for WWE with your predictions coming true. You know, I wouldn't mind a job working for WWE. I'm just saying, I've got some ideas. Whether it's the main roster, whether it's my NXT or Tony Khan, I'm available too. Got some ideas on how to help fix your booking and stuff over in AEW. Hit me up. We then had a Chase U press conference again, kind of rolling off of what we had last week. Andre Chase talking about some of the other things going on with the scandal. He's the reason the university is in debt. You know, borrowed money from a third party, which I'm assuming hasn't been revealed yet, but I'm assuming is the D'Angelo family because, you know, you figure a few weeks back after the tag title victory, Chase U defeating the D'Angelo family kind of made it seem like they owe them more than just a rematch. So I'm almost willing to bet you that the third party money owed is from the D'Angelo family, which then when you fast forward a little bit to the D'Angelo family celebration dinner and the one envelope was short, could have been short the money that Chase U owed. But there's just all this surrounding Chase U. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to get out of it. Then, you know, somebody suggests, you know, doing some fundraisers to help raise money. To Emmanuel's point, their suggestions suck to help the institution. That's only because they're all the traditional ideas. It's like, let's have a bake sale. Let's have a car wash. It's like, this is all the stuff that fraternities and sororities do to try to raise money for their frats and sororities. So to hear this come out in this Chase U thing, just hilarious to me. We then go to Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes backstage. Trick Mello game talking about the video that Anonymous aired earlier in the night, where it was a little bit painted where, Mello was involved in the attack on Trick Williams. We then get a video from Lexis King where Lexis stirs the pot up a little bit more, calling Carmelo his friend. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on here as far as this Mello storyline. Is he or isn't he? But man, it's very interesting. We get an off the cuff comment about how Mello is going to open the show and Trick is going to close the show. We then get our next Iron Survivor last chance match. Hey. I forgot that on purpose, Emmanuel. He is supposed to have a crush on me, but I digress. Yeah, that's what was going on in Thea's mind, Arlene, is that she saw one of the new students that's going to be in the breakout tournament, and she got a crush on him. How dare you point that out, Emmanuel? Bad Emmanuel. But the last Iron Survivor qualifying last chance match, Carmelo Hayes versus Tyler Bate versus Joe Coffey versus Eddie Thorpe. I felt like this was just an all right match. Like, I feel like the women's match earlier in the night was just superior to it. Maybe it's because of the storyline built within that match between Roxy and Kiana, and there wasn't really any of that in this match. Like, if Lexis King had been in this match so that you could have Mello and Lexis, maybe it would have been a little bit better. But you just had that added tension in the women's match that was missing here. Tyler Bate wins the match, and then afterwards, each person that's qualified gets on the microphone to kind of get their little promo out, similar to the Summit, but it's just one of those things where Tyler Bate starts since he's already in the ring, and then here comes Braun, here comes Trick, here comes, and it's just like, okay, this is getting a little convoluted, whereas the women's summit was way more organized. And then we kind of double book again here. We end the night with a promo between Ilya Dragunov and Baron Corbin. And they're going back and forth. Corbin is just getting under Dragunov's skin to the point where you almost wonder if Ilya is going to choke come Saturday because of how great the mind games are that Corbin is playing with him. And as they're doing their promo, all the members of the men's Iron Survivor come back out and brawl in the ring and around the ring. Braun gives Trick a spear through a table. Show goes off the air amidst all the chaos. I really enjoyed last night's NXT show. I thought it was so good, so well booked. It's got me even more hype for Deadline on Saturday than I already was. What did you guys think of the show? Let me know. Leave your thoughts and comments, and I will bring them up as soon as I am done with these quick commercials. Going to be about a minute and a half today. We're going to show you all the upcoming open mic night specials, beginning with Christmas karaoke later this month. And we're going to show you all the upcoming watch-alongs that you'll be able to find across the multiverse of media beginning with Tribute to the Troops on Friday. Stay tuned. We are back. Josh has joined the chat room. Better late than never, says all the NXT, damn it, but hashtag Mello is still guilty. Emmanuel says, if the security guards are trying to break up the fight, who is preventing the fights of the ladies? That's a fair shout. You know, probably by that point they had everything calmed down. You know, in the world of storyline, even though we didn't see anything on TV, Shawn Michaels probably told him that, you know, if you kept this up, you're not going to be able to participate on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. Josh says, I've seen people online saying it was a bad go-home show, but glad to hear a different opinion. And same people online are probably saying that Swerve versus Page were match of the year, but I digress. Emmanuel says it would be fun if the girls popped out again during that segment still fighting. That would have been pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. That would have been comical. Going back to the trailers, Josh says, and what torture I will have in store for Noah for Christmas karaoke. First, you got to show up, brother, and not flake out like you did for Disney night. Arlene says, what about Mello's match next week? I believe, do you think it's just a work? Well, see, here's the thing. If I heard correctly, it made it sound like Mello's match is going to be on Deadline, because Trick made the comment to him about on Saturday, Mello's going to open the show and Trick is going to close the show. So that leads me to believe that Mello versus Lexis Keane is going to be on Deadline, but I haven't seen an official announcement from Shawn Michaels. I haven't seen a NXT tweet. I haven't seen a graphic released for the match. But if you go back and you watch that little backstage promo after Mello's match, Trick says, you know, on Saturday, Mello's going to open the show and Trick is going to close it. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if it's a work. If it is a work, it's a great work. Great way to rope us in. If it's not a work, where do they go from here? Josh says NXT PLEs are always fun, so I'm excited. Me too, man. Me too. And then he goes on to say, oh, shush it, JJ. No, it's all good, because until we get a official statement from WWE, I can understand the misunderstanding. And Josh says it's officially listed on the wiki page for what it's worth. However, wiki pages are fan edited. So according to WWE.com, if you go to shows and then if you scroll down to Deadline, there's nothing for it yet. If you click on the preview section, it's not listed in the previews. And if you look at all the images, there's no image yet. So again, just kind of waiting for Shawn Michaels, WWE or WWE NXT's social medias to make the official announcement. But either way, NXT Deadline is going to be a fun show tomorrow. We will be simply predicting Deadline, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern on the Simple Man brand, on the Casa D18 Studios. The next installment of Simply Predicting should be a fun show. Yeah, me neither, Emmanuel. Can't wait for the predictions. Josh says WWE Twitter tweeted and quoted the Mellow closes on Saturday, Trick closes. Okay, but again, until we get some kind of confirmation, like I checked things. Yeah, see, so they made it official, just not fully. I want an Adam Pearce make it official. Like, I need to see an image, a graphic, something. Arlene says she can't wait either. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time, Josh. Really, I'm just, you know how I am about that type of thing. I need to see the image proof. But yeah, Simply Predicting on Thursday. And then, of course, if you missed it, go back and check out last week's open mic night with our buddy Gino Rivera. Gino Told You So. 3 hours almost he gave us for an interview talking about the life of an independent wrestler, his personal life, his struggles. The man has been through a lot and was willing to share openly with everybody. It was a hell of an episode. So make sure you guys go back and check that out. Of course, you guys saw in the watch along trailer, Friday is Tribute to the Troops. Saturday is going to be Impact Wrestling Final Resolution, followed by Deadline. I don't have the graphics for those. Hopefully I'll have them for tomorrow so I can give you times and everything. And then Sunday brunch open mic night this week. Since we have the back-to-back watch along on Saturday, we're not going to end a watch along at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 a.m. Eastern, and then go into open mic night too. So since we have the back watch along, we're going to do a brunch edition of open mic night this week, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, for a few hours so we can hit up our normal topics. So that is going to just about wrap things up for me today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for my recap of tonight's AEW Dynamite show. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, I am the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.